Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us today for our January meeting. I'll kick it off here with Lori Beth. If you want to start us off.
Hi. Maybe I should have figured this out before we went live on the internet. Do I have an agenda? I looked for it. I didn't see it.
The agenda was shared on the calendar and on our Facebook page, but I can go ahead and drop it in our chat here.
Sorry, I can pull it from there. My bad. I was looking for it in my email. Side note, when my doorbell rings, I'm also going to leave and Theo will be in charge of the meeting. So just so everybody is aware, I have it covered. The pets are here. Now I have the agenda and I know what I'm doing. Ta-da! My name is Lori Beth. I am the co-chair of this commission. Awesome. I live in Crafton Heights. I'm just a resident. We're going to do introductions in, I guess we'll just do introductions first and then we read the mission, I think. So thank you so much, Chris. I could have done all of that without saying I didn't have the agenda and been finding it in the meantime. Whoopsie daisies. I'll get so much better at this as we go along. So now I just have people introduce themselves. Chris is also the co-chair of this commission and works at DPW, and they already introduced themselves. So I'm just going to go to Oma, who is to my right on my screen.
Hi, everyone. My name is Ama Yakweli. I'm an environmental services DPW recycling specialist, and I reside in Point Breeze. Kelly?
Hi, all. I'm Kelly Wacker. I am the Energy Management Coordinator for the Pittsburgh Public Schools. And I'll pass it on to Erica Young.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Erica Young. I am in Public Affairs for Waste Management, and I'm also the Secretary of the Clean Pittsburgh Commission. And I will pass it to Sarah Kinter.
Hi, good morning. Happy New Year. Sarah Kinter, Director of the Department of Permits, Licenses, and Inspections. I'll pass it to Myrna.
Oops. Good morning. I'm Myrna Newman. I'm the Executive Director of Allegheny Cleanways, and I will pass it to Erica Naños.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Erica Naños. I use she, her pronouns. I am Sustainability Coordinator with the University of Pittsburgh, and I will pass it along to Emily P.
Hey folks, I'm Emily Potasny. I work with Pennsylvania Resources Council as a Zero Waste Events Manager, and I will pass it to Jay.
I hope you can hear me. This is Jay Gilmer with the City of Pittsburgh Department of Public Safety. I am the Stop to Violence Coordinator for this city, and I hope you can see me and hear me, but I can't tell.
We can. Thank you.
And I'll pass it to Emily. That's the only person I know.
Hi guys, my name is Emily Embry. I am the Department of Public Safety's Safer Together Coordinator for Police Zones 1 and 5. So I work in the north side and the east end of the city. And I will pass it to Afton.
Hi, my name is Afton Giles. I'm the Senior Sustainability Coordinator with the Department of City Planning. I also live in Homewood, and I am the treasurer. And I cannot see the gallery view, so I will pass it to the next person who hasn't spoken yet.
Erin Tobin.
Hi, sorry, I was getting situated here. Erin Tobin. I am a community engagement manager with the Pittsburgh Parks Conservancy and the District 1 rep here on the CPC. I don't know who else needs to go. Let's see.
We're blazing through it today. Who hasn't? I lost track a little bit. Who hasn't introduced?
Alexander.
Alex, yeah, Alexander. Becca's
Maybe
got her
Rebecca.
hand up. I can see it.
Awesome. Hi, I'm Becca. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm the project manager of policy at Grounded Strategies. I reside in Garfield.
Thank you. I think at this point, we'll assume that Alexander Fisher, for whatever reason, cannot or prefers not to introduce himself at this time. So we will move forward on the agenda with the, oh, go ahead. And I'm going to go ahead and read the Clean Pittsburgh Commission mission, because I know we do the equity statement a lot and we haven't done, I think, the mission in a few months here. So the mission of the Clean Pittsburgh Commission is to act as the primary resource for addressing quality of life issues in Pittsburgh's communities through waste and recycling education, community cleanups, beautification, and ordinance enforcement. We will coordinate communication to empower community organizations to maintain and improve neighborhood environments. We will maintain strong communication with city departments and officials for support in addressing neighborhood problems. We facilitate collaboration between community groups, residents, and city government to reach the most effective solutions to neighborhood problems within the commission's scope. We'll coordinate work with local volunteer organizations and groups to support neighborhood cleanups. We'll use funds to address neighborhood problems on a citywide basis. We will work cooperatively towards the goal of zero waste in the city of Pittsburgh. All right. Oh, hey, look. Does everybody who's not me have the agenda, since we've already established that I was able to locate it in a somewhat timely fashion? If you have had time to review the agenda, we'll put it for approval. Before we move forward in this meeting, we are blazing. Everyone's doing such a good job at introducing themselves quickly and concisely. I appreciate you.
Do we need to approve last, when was our last meeting?
Well, that's
Do we
the
need to
next
approve those
thing on the
minutes?
agenda.
Oh, okay, cool, sorry.
We're doing great. So is anyone see any reason why we should not approve this agenda to move forward with this meeting?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Thank you so much. So then the next thing on the agenda, this is number 3, we're killing it, would be the December minutes review and approval.
So we have Lori Beth. We would have December, November, and I believe October also meeting minutes that we do have to approve.
Okay.
I just sent them out to you guys in an email as the meeting was starting. So I don't know if I can share my screen on here or I don't think there's a chat option, but Chris, if you have like a chat or like can share your screen, they should be in your inbox for October, November, and then yesterday came December.
Yeah, sure. I've got, I'll just go ahead and share here. I've got those minutes pulled up. So we're starting with October. I'll go ahead and just scroll kind of quickly, read out some things. We had our missions or our mission statements, minutes. The Literati app came. Nick Esposito walked us through what Pittsburgh has been through on that. And then the Glitter app kicked off in Philly. It's a pilot there, but explained what the differences between Glitter and Literati were, how both successful has gone. We recapped the Garbage Olympics. We talked more about our finances, specifically with the ideas of how to spend some of those monies that we weren't able to spend due to a couple projects and things falling through, camera updates, gold plan updates, new business, the officer voting that we took place in December, and adjourning. Was there anything in here that we needed to change?
I wanted to
Great.
say that I did not get, I'm sorry, I approve of the minutes. There's nothing, but I did not get them. And I see that maybe they went to my spam. I don't know.
What I'll do is I will update our Clean Pittsburgh Commission page on the City of Pittsburgh page. All of our minutes are stored there. So right after this meeting, everything will be posted online at pittsburghpa.gov. So if there's anything we need to look at specifically, I'll post it there.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Move on to November. Members in attendance, absence, guests, approval of meeting, equity and diversity. We met with our local magistrates. We presented the gold plan. We presented our frustrations from our many different departments of dealing with environmental issues in the courts. Allegheny Cleanways and Operation Better Block reviewed their pickup PGH projects, and we learned a lot about how they did with those. We were very pleased with it. Again, with the Finance Committee, more projects not coming to fruition due to various COVID and other issues and how we were going to spend that. But I think we did a good job talking a lot of it through and adjourned. Do we see anything in the November minutes that needs updated? And that motion to approve?
I'll move to approve.
Oh, okay. And I will second.
Great. And now we got December. I'm so glad we're catching up on these. Members in attendance, members absent, equity and diversity, the enforcement magistrate meeting recap, the 1020. So we talked about the previous meeting, how we all felt that went with the magistrates, learning more about the 1520 program of volunteer justice, whatever the word is I'm looking for. We had Bill Crean come on, talk about the city's problems with our tire disposal vendor and looking to have new solutions going forward. Again, we had Finance Committee updates. We did really well at nailing that down at the last possible second. Thank you to everybody for that. And we held our elections and we adjourned. Is there anything you can see here that we need updated or amended?
Chris, the only thing I need to update on the December minutes is including Aaron as an attendance, and I will make that update and resend these out to you at the end of the meeting and any other updates.
Great. So we'll hold off on approving those till the end of the meeting.
Thank you so much. Good work, everyone. I believe that will cover us for minutes review at this time for October, November, and December. So I think we can thank you, Erica, for getting all of that out to us. I know that's really helpful for me to have the text information of everything that we went over and that nice review.
My New Year's resolution is to get these out to you guys earlier, sooner than like 9:55 on meeting day. So hold me to that for this year.
You're doing great. Anyone who still has a New Year's resolution on January 13th is my hero personally. So we're going to continue on to item number 4, ballot bins. These are fun. I'm very excited to hear more about ballot bins from Chris Mitchell and Omoye Aquili.
So feel free, Omoye, to jump in here at any time. We had talked about this last year, just kind of feeling the idea out. The city of Pittsburgh did get a grant from Keep America Beautiful to purchase these ballot bins. The grant itself was just for cigarette receptacles altogether, and we wanted to do something fun because we had been talking about this for a long time. So I'm going to share my screen again real quick here. We can take a look at what the ballot bin is. So these ballot bins are basically cigarette receptacles that you can vote yes or no, or two different answers to a question. So it can be something very Pittsburgh centric, like what's your favorite kind of Pittsburgh food, as long as it's two different answers. This is going to be a really fun one. We're going to get about 35 of these, along with the different mount options for each. We'd like the Clean Pittsburgh Commission, because this is something we've wanted for so long, to have a large hand in managing the program of, opening up to the public. What should the questions be? What kind of fun things can we put on here? The city will be responsible for maintaining at least some of them. We are looking for business partners who want these outside of their bars, restaurants, or business districts to also take, responsibility over. We will place them and we will maintain them, but if they can just empty them out for us, we'd be really thrilled and more likely to place them in their areas. But what we're looking for from the commission is just taking in ideas of where these should be placed, running, I don't know if it's something like a contest or just an open-ended, putting it out to the public. What do you want to see written on them? Things like that. So it's fairly open-ended. The only thing we know right now is that for sure we're getting about 35 of them, and we're really excited about it.
Yeah, and we're currently also working with the nighttime economy manager as well, to not only work on getting some of these out, but also Keep America Beautiful has available more just regular non-special cigarette boxes. I don't know, I don't smoke, but they're available downtown. I know that, and which you can just get rid of your cigarette butt instead of just putting it on the ground, because that it is litter as well. So, but we want to make sure we have more of these out there, because you can't point your eyes to the ground without seeing a cigarette butt in the city, and it depresses the heck out of me. So, I think getting more of these out there is good, and getting more. Making a game out of it, gamification, right? And getting our city cleaner, which I think is great, and very thankful for Keep America Beautiful to help us get this out there in an innovative, fun way in some point. Cool. Yeah, no, I think Chris did a good job, and I'm excited about it. Where are we at now, Chris? We have we're getting that agreement, some agreement between the city and the maker of the ballot bin, so that we can move forward with purchasing, right?
Correct. We're in the process of going through a procurement process. We got procurement to talk directly to Hubbub, the creator of the ballot bins, just to iron out those details. It took a little longer than we thought it was, because everything's a little difficult always. But we got there, and we're happy about it. So the next steps, the city side, we will be purchasing these very, very soon. But I'd like there to be maybe a subcommittee on the commission who'd be interested in collecting the, promoting it, collecting the suggestions of placement and for wording and things like that. So we don't have a full ironed out plan for that yet. So subcommittee, perfect time to do that. Perfect place to do that. Who would like to join that? Because this could be a fun one.
I'm happy to help, Chris.
Awesome.
I'll join. We have Myrna. Cool. Subcommittee could be just 3 or 4 people. I think that's good as well. So anyone else, just join us later.
Yeah, we'll send out when we're meeting and talking about it. If you decide after this you'd like to hop on, please let us know. We're very excited. It'll be fun.
It's very fun. Okay, ballot boxes, yay! I was like, I don't know why I think this is super fun. I'm so excited that those are in purchased. We decided a thing and now it's happening. Whoa. Okay. I think we're moving on now to our special guest speakers here with us today from Stop the Violence. So I'm just going to turn it over to Emily Embry and also Jay Gilmer, I believe, from Stop the Violence. So thanks for coming to be with us here this morning. And you have the floor.
Thanks for having us. So Jay and I both work in the public safety department. We do slightly different jobs that overlap. And we had met with Amaya and Christopher and a few other people from the Clean Commission who work in environmental services. Gosh, I guess it's been since like the end of October. We had met to discuss a study that had been published in the New York Times. It happened in Philadelphia. It was across 5 years. And the study was basically, they had in Philadelphia taken some vacant lots and studied over a 5-year period the impact of regular maintenance on these vacant lots. Some were privately owned, publicly owned. And they found a pretty significant reduction in specifically violent crime and gun violence. And I had read this study also, so I thought it was great that people in other departments had read this study, saw the connection, called up Jay, who is our Stop the Violence coordinator, and Jay brought me in because I am certified in something called CPTED, which is crime prevention through environmental design. So I'm going to share my screen, and I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about CPTED, the Stop the Violence office, and how all of this interfaces with the work that you all do on the Clean Commission. So let's see.
And while she's getting that together, I will just simply say that we are in the city's Department of Public Safety, we're a separate office from police, fire, etc. And we have a variety of functions that we do. You'll hear about that in a minute. And we're definitely looking forward to some opportunities to connect more and more things with crime prevention. And I'm looking at it as the new administration wants to do it. I look at everything in a public health manner. Hopefully this will be a way to start to push that forward as well. So I will turn it back over to Emily. I see you got the slides up.
Thanks, Jay. Yeah, and you'll see as I go through this, one of the things that I hope to accomplish today in talking to all of you is that I would really love for us to even today take 5-10 minutes to brainstorm on a small easy lift that we could work together as partners on. So I will have some questions about ways that we might be able to work together. And also I'd really like for us to leave this meeting with some kind of action item. So whether that is just to reconvene those of us who would be working together on a project to discuss that or something like that, I would love to see us have something actionable at the end of this. So keep that in mind as I'm going through. If you have some ideas, write them down. I would love to hear ways that you think that we could all work together to address the interface of cleanliness and crime. All right.
Make the slide full screen as well.
Yep. Let me, here we go. I haven't done this before, so bear with me.
There we go. You're a pro.
Okay, I can't even see. There we go. Oops.
We can see it.
The clean and safe connection, how addressing blight can improve community safety and health. So I'm going to talk about a few things, and Jay, feel free to chime in as necessary here. We're going to talk about the Stop the Violence office, what it is they do, and how you can stay updated on their initiatives. We're going to talk about crime prevention through environmental design, how we can work together to apply these principles in ways that support positive changes in crime trends in Pittsburgh. And then lastly, how can we collaborate on a small project so that we can understand how these principles might work in Pittsburgh? The first time we do it, we're not necessarily going to hit the nail on the head. We're not going to blow it out of the park, and change the nature of violence in the city. But how can we apply these principles in a small area to learn something and learn about what works best for our communities in a way that is transferable to other communities in the city? So the Stop the Violence office, Jay is our Stop the Violence coordinator. So I'm going to have him chime in here to, fill in the gaps of what he does. But the Stop the Violence office was created 2 years ago, Jay, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
And so a lot of what Jay does is he works with residents, he works with community leaders and a bunch of different organizations to increase support systems for people who are at risk of experiencing violence. That's one of many things that Jay does through his initiatives. He works with organizations that have diversion programs to help keep adults and youth who are at risk of experiencing or getting involved with violence, to divert them into healthier activities. He also works with his network to educate community members about the risks of violence, the impacts of violence. He has a monthly newsletter, which I don't think we have a chat to share the link, but I will at the end put my email and Jay's email on the last slide. So if you're interested in his monthly newsletter, it's full of resources, a lot of really interesting information, and I highly recommend signing up for that. And he also, through his office, provides resources and empowerment tools to people in the community, helping people to understand ways that they can work together with other organizations outside the city to increase safety in their neighborhoods, and help people feel empowered to do some of that on their own too, and be supported while they do that.
Yeah,
Jay,
so
what else do you have to add?
Yep, our ultimate objective is to connect as many people, organizations, and projects to the issue of violence prevention as possible. About many things contribute to a safe city. And the more of those we can connect with each other, and the more that can understand what each other is doing, the more likely it is we can actually have the impact we want to have. One of the things coming up in 2022 for us is going to be our Stop the Violence, the Investment Grants Fund. So $1 million that's going to be spent for community projects that are going to be able to prevent violence and reduce violence. We are definitely looking for organizations that are partnering with the individuals that are most at risk of violence and for violence. But that's a big space, and projects that use environmental design principles and things like that to reduce the possibility of violence, propensity of violence in certain neighborhoods is certainly something that would be considered for that. We probably will have our first RFP for that sometime in February or March, and for the first $500 million to be spent sometime by the summer, and then the second round will be in the fall. And this is an ongoing fund, so we know for sure about 2 years, but it's going to go on beyond that as well. So there are opportunities for lots of organizations to participate, and hopefully we can touch a lot of lives that way. And we're looking forward to the work that all you're doing, is how that can fit in so that we can make the greatest impact possible.
Thanks, Jay. So there are different, the city has a few different, what they would consider city-sponsored Stop the Violence activities. The first is the Group Violence Intervention Program. And Jay can speak a little bit more to that in just a moment. We also have the Police Community Engagement Unit, which is a special unit in the Police Bureau. They are focused on engaging with community members, building rapport with community members, and just like general community policing, working on events, anything that can help build positive relationships between our residents and our police officers. And the last is diversion programs for adults and youth. And this right now, the city is not sponsoring directly these activities, but as I mentioned, Jay does work with organizations who sponsor these activities. And Jay, do you want to talk a little bit more about GVI?
Just very briefly, we do have a Group Violence Intervention Initiative is a partnership among Pittsburgh Police together with a dedicated street outreach team, and together with community organizations that are all dedicated to the same purpose, which is affecting the very small amount of people that we know about in our city that are involved in violent activities. So if you did not already know that, they are available to anyone really. If you know someone, you know of an issue, you know of a violent situation, if you know individuals that are causing violence, we can let us know that, and we can direct our outreach workers to those individuals or to that situation so that we can prevent that. It is this has been growing over the years. Now we've got a much more significant investment in it, in our outreach team. And we're trying to affect those homicides and shootings that involve individuals who are already already known by the system. So we can't prevent everything. If someone chooses to, if a suicide bomber pops up and blows up a pat bus, we can't really do anything about that. But if it's usual group fights and things like that, and group disputes, and among people that we already know are already on the radar, those are the ones we probably can do something about, wherever they may occur inside the city of Pittsburgh. So if anyone does encounter anyone that they think might need to be directed in a different way or have like a little talking to, let us know. That's UVA in a nutshell.
Excellent. Thanks for that, Jay. That's helpful. All right, so the next thing we're going to talk about is crime prevention through environmental design. This is more my area of the conversation. So crime prevention through environmental design, we call CPTED. It is a crime prevention approach that utilizes the built environment to reduce the incidence and the fear of crime. So through the development of CPTED, it has been understood that it doesn't only matter that neighborhoods are safe. It matters if people just feel like they're safe or not. You may not have any actual crime happening, but if people don't feel safe, that matters. That's going to impact their mental well-being. It's going to then impact their physical well-being. It's going to impact the way that they interact with their spaces and interact with their neighborhood. And further down the line, the fewer people that are out and about because they don't feel safe, the greater opportunities open up for nefarious activities to take place and then reinforce the feeling of not being safe.
Let me just chime in again there, Emily, and
Yeah.
that we also know that people's feeling of unsafety is a very political matter as well. And that does then cause people to buy guns, carry guns, and they need to protect themselves. And that makes them more aggressive, which leads to more violence. So if your neighborhood looks better and feels better, then you feel less likely that you have less prone to have to take your public safety into your personal safety into your own hands, and then carry around your own handgun. And then who knows what crazy things can happen once you've had a couple of drinks or get into a minor argument with somebody. All of a sudden you pull it out and use it. So this issue of feeling safe is a major issue, politically and statistically.
Yeah, that's a great point. Thank you for bringing that up. Yeah, we don't want to encourage hypervigilance in our residents by neglecting where they live. So CPTED has 4 main pillars. The first pillar is natural surveillance. And natural surveillance is the concept of eyes on the street. If you're familiar with the activist Jane Jacobs, she wrote about, in observing the urban neighborhoods, she wrote about the positive impact of having eyes on the street, people watching what's going around. I live in Garfield. In my neighborhood, that looks like when it's warm out, all of my neighbors are on the front porch, having a drink, having a laugh, hanging out. We're all chatting with each other. And so because there are so many of us out on our block, you know, some of my neighbors' kids are riding the bike down the street, stuff like that. No one's going to come on our block and do shady stuff because there are so many people out watching that it's not safe for them to do their unsafe activities in our area. Right. And so that's kind of the idea of natural surveillance. And studies have shown that even the appearance of the human form gives psychologically the feeling of natural surveillance, and that alone can be a deterrent to crime. Just having, you know, I think of like the Bride on Penn Avenue mural, even things like that have a psychological impact on people. And so that is public art can come into play in that way too, if we don't have the ability to actually create opportunities for natural surveillance. Access control is the next pillar. And access control is the process of just that, controlling how people access the space. So this might look like flagstones in your yard. You might have, you know, a designated pathway or a sidewalk that leads from the city sidewalk up to your front steps. And this is giving people a visual and physical clue as to what direction they're supposed to move in. You're controlling their access to other parts of the property. You know, you might have a path that wanders around to the backyard to where you have a garden, things like that. So there are other things we can do for access control. We can use fences, we can use landscaping. Landscaping is a really great way to both beautify a space and control the way people move within the space. In CPTED, we have a concept called hostile vegetation, which I love saying. Hostile vegetation would be thorny things like a rose bush. You know, maybe you have a pathway that's lined with some kind of, you know, prickly plant, and that keeps people from jumping over out of the area you want them to be. So the next is territoriality, and we sometimes call this territorial reinforcement. This is using physical things to give a visual cue to people where the boundaries of a property begin and end. So that could be a fence. That could be, again, using plants. Plants are always a great way in CPTED to both add beautification and also function. So you might line your property with large bushes to let people know this is where public property is and this is where the private property is. It creates a delineation. When we have territorial reinforcement, it helps users know, am I supposed to be in this area, which would make them in CPTED what we call a regular user, or am I not supposed to be in this area, which would make them what we would call an irregular user. So the last pillar is maintenance, and maintenance is the most important for our conversation today. Maintenance is, as I'm going to show you if this moves, there we go. It's the foundation pillar of CPTED. And this is because if an area isn't regularly maintained, the other aspects of CPTED become irrelevant. So if we're not maintaining the area, people aren't going to want to be outside to give us natural surveillance. They're not going to want to hang out on their front porch when everything around them is blighted and overgrown, right? It's not a comfortable environment to be in. So we lose that. If something isn't maintained, if the sidewalks are broken, we don't necessarily understand, oh, well, this sidewalk is for this area and this is for this area. If fences have fallen over, we lose our territorial reinforcement. So maintenance is really the pillar here. And part of the thing that is so impactful, I've seen a bunch of different studies and if you would like me to share any of these studies with you, I'm happy to email them to you. For the sake of brevity, I figure a lot of you are probably somewhat familiar with the impacts of cleanliness. But there have been a bunch of different studies that show a decrease in crime and especially violent crimes like assaults, gun violence, directly related to the cleanliness of an area. So there was a study in Youngstown, there was a study in Philadelphia that I referenced earlier, where cities have taken targeted lots, cleaned them up, measured the incidence of crime before and after in the surrounding area, measured how safe people feel in the surrounding area before and after. And there's always a positive change in the amount of crime that occurs. So I thought that was really interesting and something that, cleaning up areas can be a relatively low cost way for us to make a positive difference in our neighborhoods.
And one thing we'll say in the GVI world is that, and when we're trying to engage community volunteers, is that if something looks as though it's abandoned, the violence will fill in that vacuum. So if people are paying attention, as evidenced by all the things that Emily just mentioned, whether it's eyes in the street or landscaping or cleanliness, and some deliberate things that you do to show that it is being taken care of, that crazy stuff goes elsewhere. It's going to seek out work, that place that's not tended to, that's not occupied, where there is no activity. So the more we can do to make places not just appear as though they're cared for, but actually be cared for, the more we can push that violence elsewhere. And you oftentimes, if it doesn't happen today, it may never happen at all. So because If someone starts in one spot, they're not necessarily going to go far away and do the same thing. They'll probably just not do it at all. So these are really important principles that I don't think we really spend enough time mentioning to our community partners so they can really understand the value of some of these things. And hopefully, by this time we're done with this conversation, we'll have all you guys on board and can find some ways that we can start to demonstrate this and slowly but surely improve our community safety as a result.
Right, exactly. So what Jay's talking about, and some of you are probably familiar or have heard this concept before, the broken window theory, which is based on a study that was done in the 1980s that shows exactly what Jay's talking about. If an area is being neglected, it gives the impression that, well, no one cares about this area, so I can keep doing my non-caring activities here. And the broken window theory has gotten some pushback in recent years because people misrepresented and misused the information in this study to create what was called broken window policing, which has been negative for a lot of communities and has been racially biased in a lot of communities. And so I do want to point out that broken window policing is not the same as the broken window theory that was created from this study. People took the information from the study and kind of misappropriated it, I would say, to create policies that didn't really accurately reflect what the study was trying to point out. So feeling safe, as we mentioned, is really, really important. I mean, obviously being safe is important, but just feeling safe has positive impacts on people's health, and the opposite is true also. So blighted and neglected lots have been associated with higher levels of depression, higher levels of anxiety and fear in residents. There was a 2011 study from Philadelphia where they had 12 people who lived in a neighborhood, and they walked them by a bunch of different vacant lots, measured their heart rate as they were walking past these lots. Some of the lots were chosen for a clean and green program. Some of the lots stayed the control program. After 3 months of the clean and green, they had the same participants walk past all of the same lots again. And people's heart rates, they found, increased by a statistically significant amount when walking by the lots that had not been maintained as compared to the lots that had been maintained, and as compared to lots that weren't vacant, which had the least impact on people's heart rate. So this suggests that walking past lots, just walking past and viewing vacant lots that have not been maintained, that are overgrown, can actually have a physical acute stress response on people. And if you live in a neighborhood where that's what you see every day out your window, and you're having an acute stress response to your environment every single day, that can compound over time. That can turn into something like complex post-traumatic stress syndrome. And so while it seems like, oh yeah, these are just overgrown lots, the actual impact that this has to the health of our community members can be really huge, especially over the long term. It can be actually psychologically damaging to people. And I think that's something that is incredibly significant, that is not talked about, or I think really even something that we're aware of. So this is another reason I was really excited to be able to speak with you guys about these issues, because we live in a very stressful world already for people. And so, I mean, just cleaning vacant lots is a way that we can help improve health in some of our communities. So there is something called the busy streets theory. And according to this, activities that encourage residents or people to be out and about in the neighborhoods not only increases natural surveillance and eyes on the street, but it also helps people build relationships. Go figure. That helps to strengthen communities. Again, go figure. And it improves people's emotional wellness. And I think we really see, after the last couple of years, the impact of not having face-to-face communication, not having community engagement where people are connecting together, right? And so, of course, when we give those things to people and we encourage spaces where that can take place, it has a positive impact. So some of these studies that I have read focus on community greening, which is where we have community members that are engaged as stakeholders in the greening process, right? And that has a much greater positive impact than just having an organization come in without engaging the community and doing a clean project. You know, if you're not doing these projects with the community, you're not really doing it for the community, you know? So it's very, very important that we actively engage our residents, our community stakeholders, because this is where they live. This is impacting them more than anybody else. And without getting them on board and having them feel a sense of ownership and pride in the project, it's not going to be maintained. So if it's not going to be maintained, it's not going to have a lasting impact. And people are not going to get the benefits from it that they could, because it's not really designed for them, right? Each community is different, has different needs. So it's important that when we come up with ideas for ways we could work together on something like this, that we identify who our community stakeholders are and get them involved from the earliest stages. So this can also reduce violence, increase business. So it helps the local economy, which can help stimulate jobs for people, and it improves the community health. So piecing together a solution. This is where I really need all of you who are here on the commission to help us come up with a easy lift, I like to call it. Something actionable that we can get done by the end of the year that could give us an idea of how we could make a larger scale difference. So we need to identify our stakeholders first. So we have city departments. That would be, you know, public safety department, me and Jay, public works, where we have some of you on the clean commission. And then of course, our community members. I've already mentioned the importance of having the community members involved as stakeholders. And then our nonprofit organizations. These are organizations who are already working, you know, on some of these projects. Some of you work for these organizations. So this is important because this is part of how we get funding, part of how we get people who are professionals in these types of areas to all work together. So moving forward, how do we trial which efforts can be most sustainable by stakeholders? And these are questions for you guys to think about for a minute, and then I'd like to open up discussion. And what are some of the simplest and lowest cost steps we can take right now, you know, in the next month or two to have even a small impact? Because it doesn't have to be something that requires a ton of funding, right? It could be a small project where we pick maybe 3 or 4 lots in one neighborhood, and we start with that, you know. What are some steps we can do to empower residents? And also, are these things that we can easily replicate in other areas of the city?
Why don't you hold on right there and see what kind of response we're getting from our friends here at the Clean Commission?
Yes.
Before we even go on.
Perfect.
What are you all thinking, people in the meeting? Does make any
Rebecca's got
sense
her
to you?
hand up.
Hi, so I actually work at Grounded Strategies, which does a lot of work with vacant lots. We love this kind of work and greening spaces, especially with Community First. And I can kind of speak to a program we already have that really falls along these lines and already has been replicated a bit. It's called our Community Care Stewardship Program. And it's an incentive-based program where we right now pay stewards through gift cards or through paying for like gas or utilities for their time of cleaning lots or their neighborhoods, any beautification. Right now we're moving to move to like more of a hourly wage that's at $15 an hour for all of our communities. We currently work in Homewood, Larimer, Wilkinsburg, and the Hill, and are continuously always looking to expand and also, of course, make this a long-term goal for the city to be a like running partner of this. And it's been really successful. We've been doing it for about, I think, 5 years or so, and
Great.
about 50 stewards total, but we're always looking to have more partners on it too.
Awesome. I love that. That I didn't know that there was something that like that. And I think it's really great that you're able to offer financial incentives. Do you find that that increases your engagement pretty significantly? I would think it would.
I think so. And also just the fact that they feel like they're part of our organization, like they go out and speak that they're part of Grounded Strategies. You know, this is not just them as residents, part of them being in the neighborhood, part of their communities, and part of this like larger cohort of residents that are doing this. So we also offer training in between seasons when it's, you know, especially really cold out, and offer workshops for them to like learn more about like accessing vacant lots. And hopefully what we're working to expand the program is also ownership of vacant land, because we see owning land as a big boost in generational wealth, and also ownership of these vacant lots.
That's cool. I love that. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Myrna?
Hi, I'm with Allegheny Cleanways, and we clean up illegal dumping and litter we have been cleaning up litter and illegal dumping for the last 21 years, going on 22 years in the city. And obviously this is a key strategy and a key message that we've been trying to hammer for years about the connection between health and safety and littering and dumping. There's a great study actually that that was done in Homewood in 2016. Samantha Teixeira, I'm not sure how to pronounce her last name, but she was working with Operation Better Block at the time when she did the study. But it's mapping racial inequality in place using youth perceptions to identify unequal exposure to neighborhood environmental hazards. So it's a study about how particularly litter and illegal dumping affects youth in the city. And Homewood was the basis, or where she did most of her research. So I recommend that you look at that. But I'm really excited that the city is taking this on. We've tried over the years to implement some of the SEPTED, is that the right way to pronounce that, SEPTED strategies, particularly around access control and obviously maintenance and territoriality. So around fencing, particularly fencing and native and planting shrubbery and things like that to prevent dumping. And I will say that the city has been less than responsive to that type of strategy. So not to simplify it too much, but the reaction has tended toward more like, let's just put up a sign, or let's put up a camera, instead of trying some of these other strategies. So I'm really excited that this is not only something that you're wanting to do, or that you will do, but you're wanting to do this. So just thank you. I think that's the bottom line. Thanks.
Absolutely. And thank you for what you guys do. And do you know where I would be able to access the study that was done in Homewood?
Sure, I can send you a link.
Okay, great. I'll have my email address on the last slide of this presentation, and I would love to connect with any and all of you about what we talk about today too. And yeah, I would really like to see the city implement more of these principles. I know it's been really hard living in a city that lost half of its population and has struggled for decades to come close to getting back any kind of tax base. But we do need to find solutions to these problems. Are systemic, and other cities have codified some of these principles, especially when it comes to new development. But I think there's a lot of room for growth here. And if we can come up with some kind of partnership to show just how effective these implementing what are really simple strategies and should almost always be very low cost strategies, I'm hoping that we can move towards having this more widespread, and potentially even having some of these things put into city code as principles that we should be following. Which leads me.
Let's hold on one second, if you could. We are trying to encourage as many partners as possible that are interested in the crime prevention elements of anything to engage more with us through our public safety councils that meet each zone every month. So if there's some of you guys are doing things that really do have a crime improvement impact, we love to make those connections. Because oftentimes when someone comes out of the garden and says, let's do something, well, that's a gardener who's working on that. Why do we care about that? But when the gardener has convinced the police chief or the zone commander to say, we need to do this, and they start making calls, things tend to happen. So we want to connect. If any of you with any of the projects you're working on can find your way to those zone public safety councils where we are deliberately looking at crime prevention activities that do have the ears usually of significant numbers of city officials. And that probably isn't going to be increasing over time as we focus on them. That probably is a way to get more of these things worked into some additional budgets and get some additional focus on them, so they don't seem to be coming out of the pasture versus out of someplace else.
Good point, Jay. Yeah. And we have 6 public safety zone councils. They correlate with the police zones. They're resident led, and they all meet monthly. I think right now everybody's meeting virtually, but every month there's a different speaker, and the zone councils really like to have a variety of programming at the meeting. So if any of you would like to speak at the zone council meetings, I would love to put you in contact with, I work with zones 1 and 5, and I can put you in contact with the other zone councils through my colleagues that work with them as well. I think a lot of organizations are doing great work that if you get the chance to interface with the zone councils, you might be able to get even more volunteer opportunity too.
I just correct myself. I just wanted to end by saying, and I apologize for interjecting here, but when I say the city does, that came off very negative. The city has been wonderful. And organizations like Grounded are a godsend, and individuals have been doing a ton within the city, and community groups have been doing a ton within the city. So please, I didn't mean that in a negative way at all.
Oh, I didn't take it that way, but thank you. Yeah, it's hard. I mean, like, it's hard from the inside too to get stuff done, right? Like we're all limited by budget and time and a wide variety of factors that make it difficult for us. If it was easy, we wouldn't be having the conversation, right? So no worries.
That's another reason why they encourage these projects to come to the public safety councils, because there are some things that the police can ask for. There's some things that people like Emily and I can ask for, but there are other things that people like community members who are engaged can ask for and actually demand that can get things done that we can't get done because they've got a different voice. And then, so we try to take advantage of that as best we can to advocate for things whether it's from the city's space or some other governmental entity space or from the private space. If the citizens are advocating for them, it can go someplace that it might not otherwise go. So again, another reason to engage as much as possible with public safety councils, because they're always looking for ways to make an impact. And if we're seeing that some of these strategies can do that, and they're ones that community members will probably be very anxious to advocate for, but they've got to hear about them and kind of know that what pieces are out there, and all of a sudden things can start to happen. So we definitely want to encourage that.
Thank you so much, Jay and Emily. I want to just jump in here to give an opportunity to Sarah Kinter to speak. She's had her hand up for a while, and I believe Sarah's in PLI, if I'm not mistaken. So that's just another way that we're talking between different departments right now about this one specific thing.
Yes, PLI is very integral to this work.
Yeah, thanks. I unfortunately have an 11 o'clock, so I'll say some words and then I'll jump. Apologies for that. So first, just want to offer our data. PLI is the code enforcement agency for the city of Pittsburgh. And so we are issuing violations to both city-owned and privately owned lots that are out of compliance because of weeds and debris. And so we have, I think, the data that we might need here to identify lots for cleanup. And for PLI's part, we've been looking at a similar program called the Clean Sweep program that was employed in Buffalo, New York, which is very much like what you discussed. It's a targeted interdepartmental approach to looking at data, finding what they call hotspots, so places where there's continual code enforcement problems, and then going there with your DPW crews and your DOMI crews, to add curbing, clean the lot, trim the trees, fix up signage, board up houses, work with an art group to beautify them, and carry on. And they've found a reduction in crime around those areas based on that beautification and cleaning of lots. I think a few things to think of in terms of long-term builds on private lots. First, I am someone who is interested in DOMI and other folks coming in to build physical barriers on lots. So for example, we had a really particular code enforcement situation in Sheridan where a bunch of junk vehicles kept ending up on a lot. And agencies like DOMI can help build curbing. Agencies like forestry can put in trees to stop the physical access to the lots. And then one thing to think about is, once you do beautify a lot and maintain it, it becomes more enticing to purchase. Right now, we put liens on lots after we've cleaned them, after DPW has cleaned them. So just thinking about waivers to those liens to get them back into productive use, because our goal would be to not go out there so many times for code enforcement and to have someone purchase the lot and get on the tax rolls. But the liens are sometimes a barrier to that. So we don't want to be in a position where we are disincentivizing purchase of the lot. So for PLI's part in our data, we can provide data about confirmed lots where the owners are deceased and there's no sort of next of kin or deed transfer following. And that might be helpful in understanding what lots to target first. So throwing that out there to the world, apologies I have to jump, but happy to continue with this conversation and have PLI be a partner in this.
Great, thanks a lot, Director. I really appreciate that. Does anyone else have anything that they want to add about what your organization does, or things you're already doing that interface with these concepts, ideas that you have moving forward of what might be an easy lift? Who else might need to come in on these conversations? I would love to know what you guys think.
I have
Oh, go on, sorry.
Sorry, this is Myrna again. I just have a quick question that maybe Erin is the best one to, or maybe either of you know this too, but we're working right now on a project on the north side with the Urban Redevelopment Authority, and I believe, and safety is a big issue, big concern on this big project. I'm just wondering if there might be some way to tie into that. There's already, it's a huge project, so there are already so many pieces going in that, and maybe this would be a good, and there's funding and all of that. So I don't know, Erin, are you part of that, and do you know anything more about that?
I am not a part of that. Do you know what the overall project name is? I'm not sure.
Yeah, let me see if I can find it. I'm sorry. I'll keep looking, and other people can, I'll raise my hand if I can find it. Sorry for not knowing.
That's okay. And if you find it later, you can email it to me too. Because I also work in the north side. That's one of my police zones. So I work closely with the commander over there and with the community engagement officers over there and the Northside Public Safety Zone Council. So, something in the north side, I'm already pretty connected with the safety arena over there. And Jay also with a lot of the nonprofit organizations that he works with. So that could be a really a nice, easy lift. Like we're looking for an easy partnership to get something going and moving. Yeah. Thank you. Any other ideas for, when would you like to meet to discuss this again? And obviously not everyone is necessarily going to, Rebecca.
I would definitely love to meet and partner with this too, and also bring in our community care leader on this. But I was also wondering, maybe it's also important to think about the city maintenance bids too here, as we're seeing That budget is now increased from, I think, 450K to 1.5 of ARPA funding, but just from calculations we've done in past studies, we see that it takes about 4.2 million yearly to maintain all the vacant lots in the city. So something just like larger advocacy, looking at like how we can further push for budget increases. And I may be a little off on those numbers too, but just from our past studies, know that.
Yeah, that's great. And that's something that I'm kind of hoping that we can make a case for through doing one or two small projects together this year is making a case by the time July rolls around, when they start talking about the budget for 2023, to have some really definitive things like, hey, we need some more in the budget for the cleaning and the maintenance and things like that. So yes, awesome. Good thinking. The money is helpful. Myrna?
Yeah, I found it. I feel so stupid because I've been part of this and I get nervous. Sorry.
I understand. It's totally okay.
But
I haven't even been seen on a Zoom in months. So
yeah,
I'm a little nervous too. I get it.
The Choice Neighborhood it's the Choice Neighborhood Task Force is probably the piece that would fit this most. But the Choice Neighborhood is I think the last one was in Larimer, I think, Choice Neighborhoods, but I'll send that information to you directly, but
thank you.
Yeah,
that's helpful. Anybody else?
Yeah, I think there's just something that almost everybody here could bring to the table, and it's such a large abstract concept that I think we could spend multiple of these meetings trying to narrow this down. So I think after this meeting, we will all stay in touch and keep this going throughout the year. I think there's a lot of great overlap that we can do between our organizations, departments, and Stop the Violence. And so I'm very excited for this. We don't have to nail down all these details, but we will keep an email chain going. We've got our contacts up here. We'll start this going. I don't know if we need to break out into a subcommittee and things like that, but we'll discuss it after this meeting of what's next steps, what everybody wants to go back to their organization and say, what can we bring to this? What can we sell upwards? What can we sell to DPW, to the mayor's office? Because we know that incoming or the now Mayor Gainey's top priorities are violence and our uncleanliness problem. So we're very well aligned here going forward, and I'm just thrilled that this is happening. So if we have any last remarks after this, we'll move on to our next subject.
Great, and thank you so much for having us on today. I cannot tell you how excited I was when I first got to have the initial conversation. Well, I think you probably know, Chris, because I was geeking out too. I love SEPTED. I love the concepts of SEPTED. I love our neighborhoods, and I love Pittsburghers. And I'm really grateful for the opportunity to work with you guys to truly make a Pittsburgh for all and make things better for everybody and our environment. So
absolutely. Thank you for having us today. We're looking forward to the good things we'll do in the future.
Yeah, and I think there's already some really great programs, so I don't think we need to reinvent the wheel here either. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Emily and Jay. Thank you, Chris, for kind of putting a button in that. And Emily and Jay, we understand you're very busy. Thank you for being our guests today. If you need to leave, please feel free to move forward with your professional day. I understand that things fill up pretty quickly. I just want to say, as a guerrilla gardener, I think, and I know we're going into our 2022 priorities, including what will be our 2022 neighborhood of focus. But Chris, I think outgoing in Esplin, we should definitely set their community group up with some of these initiatives, because they would dovetail nicely with Council President Cale Smith's wish to have, a garden space or green space maintained in Esplin, and that could be a nice outgoing project for us to kind of hand off over there, something in Esplin to this smattering of other organizations that does interrelated work, and means that in order to do things in the community, sometimes it feels like you have to have an encyclopedic knowledge of the interworkings of literally every department that there's ever been, plus all of the nonprofits. Only me? Okay, moving on to our next agenda item, our 2022 priorities for the Clean Pittsburgh Commission. Ta-da!
Thank you.
Didn't you want to
And
do
so,
finance committee? Sorry.
These things are kind of tied together. I guess one probably 2022 focus probably should be before finance, I guess. I mean, the two are one and the same. It's what we're spending money in and our time on, right? So,
Cool, sorry.
no, that's 100% correct. Esplin, it's been difficult to give them all we wanted to give them this year, because we wanted to target a small neighborhood, and we found that in Esplin. But with it being so small, they don't have the infrastructure that a lot of our larger neighborhoods like OPDC to work through, or those kind of community organizations that are so focused in the area. We have last year provided them a couple cleanups with some of our members and things like that, but we have not put into place any kind of long-term program we like to leave communities with, because when we really got down to it, we were talking about going door to door to meet these people and provide them services and things like that. And with the unpredictability of the pandemic and when we can and cannot be that close to people, we have not been able to provide them as much as I think we all think they know they deserve. So I don't want to drop out of Esplin as a neighborhood of focus. I'm more thinking of maybe saying, hey, we want to pause until we can work more closely with you to meet your needs, because we don't have that avenue for communication right now. And so that's where my mind was on Esplin. I don't know if anybody's ready to just move on to something else or has any other thoughts for neighborhood of focus.
I, of course, have thoughts. Sorry, I'm talking a lot today and apologizing a lot. Anyway, the project that we talked about towards the end of the year with electronics and hazardous waste, I think, or electronics primarily, I guess we talked about, that kind of collection, I think would still be valuable. And I think we could still do that even in the midst of, distancing and safety protocols. So I would suggest that we think about that.
Yeah, so we had talked briefly when we were trying to find ways to provide and fill up our budget with these programs that we needed to use up. Giving Esplin a neighborhood collection event. Again, we'd probably be going to door to let them know, hey, we're going to be collecting electronics or other things, so these things don't end up illegally dumped, that these are probably programs that we saw so much illegal dumping in that neighborhood. We were looking at the 2021 budget, but knew we weren't be able to pull that off in time. And of course our electronics recycler folded as well. So we're looking, as soon as we get that back up off the ground, to work through our new vendor for electronics recycling. So I do think that is a good way to give them something a little bit more concrete. A timeline on that isn't going to be established probably until we have our vendor lined up again. Or was that actually going to be gone through, I can't remember, Allegheny Cleanways, and you guys would find the vendor? Is that what was that? Or
No. I think initially we were thinking your vendor, but PRC is available also. They could. I don't want to speak for them, but that's a potential. They could handle that part of it. And then I think we also talked about having a dumpster day or a couple of dumpster days.
That's right.
And that we would be willing to take care of.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, we could continue that talk and make sure we're not leaving them with nothing before we move on, because the cleanups have not been enough, but it's just been a hard couple of years, as everybody knows. So why don't we pick those back up? We'll discuss what that should be in the budget and have something to present by next meeting. If anybody else would like to be part of that, I know that before it was Myrna and Sarah from PRC, and myself and Amalia. You have your hand up.
No, I was just saying I I was part of that conversation as well. But yeah, and also just clarifying if there would be any HHW collection as well, just to make sure we're either doing both or neither, or just I thought it was just mostly electronics. But yeah, I like that conversation, and I'm a part of it too, or would like to be a part of it. Honestly, my brain's scrambled, but yeah, I like cleaning up these things so they don't get in the environment. But yeah, thanks guys.
And I think I was on that too. If anyone else wants to be more involved in the neighborhood of focus discussion, let Chris and I know, and we'll make sure that we get you on that subcommittee and talk about, whether we're going to move forward and when to a new neighborhood, and how we're going to kind of put a period at the end of Esplin here, or a semicolon perhaps. But I have contacts with Public Safety Council Zone 6, which would cover Esplin, which I never thought to put together with the Clean Pittsburgh Commission until right now, because I do know that there is community sentiment, specifically in Sheridan, but some places over here on West Side, which is why do we have to interact with police to receive services from the city of Pittsburgh. And I want to be sensitive to that sentiment from residents as well. So it's challenging. The work that we do is challenging. So I think we'll move past neighborhood of focus for now. I don't know if we have anything concrete about any changes to structure under the Gainey administration. So it may be time for finance. Someone correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, for Gainey, we just want to, they're still building up their cabinet. We do want to give them an opportunity to join have somebody join the council from their office as soon as they're ready, and we'll be making that connection shortly. I do believe that our member from Friends of the Riverfront is on the transition team, but I don't know if that might be our way to make that connection. So yeah, that's all I have on that, and we can move on to budget.
Hi, this is Afton from, I guess, the finance team. Sarah couldn't be here today. So we haven't met yet. And like we said, these two conversations are very closely tied. We ended up last year, we had a budget of $25,000. We spent just about all of it. We did have an emergency sort of vote in order to spend down the remainder of our funding, as we had a little bit under $10,000 left at the end of the year that we wanted to make sure that we used. We were able to purchase 300 tabletop composters that are going to be used as part of the community compost project that the city is doing in partnership with USDA. And those will be distributed in 2023, and there'll be sort of more on that later, but that was sort of something we were able to contribute to. And I actually did not hear back from the council, as to whether or not they were able to place the order for the tote bags that we had planned to use. It was sort of that it was already budgeted, and that was already budgeted and approved, but I'm not sure if they were able to get those funds spent in enough time before the deadline closed in December. So more on that later. For this year, we actually have an increase to $30,000, which is wonderful. So over the next month, we'll be able to meet as a committee and to make sure that we appropriate those funds and make sure that we get that money spent down this year so that we can do all the cool projects that we've already started to discuss. So looking forward to working with everybody on pulling together our project list and getting all those things sort of on paper so that we can approve them and we can discuss them more at our next meeting.
Thank you so much.
Sorry, one thing that we'll definitely be going on there are those cameras that we have been using for the past couple of years. We do, as we have the new inspectors coming in this year, we're going to be moving to have those cameras be more owned by Department of Public Works. That's going to be the case we make with this last year of the CPC funding the cameras, hopefully. And then after we have this new arm of the Department of Public Works for environmental enforcement set up, we'll try to hand those over. So that's something we want to go ahead and put in the budget early as we're considering what else to spend on.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Afton. Okay, it is time for member organization updates. I'm going to apologize because SEPTED is my heart. Like, that's pretty much everything that I love about cleaning things up is like, oh, if you make it pretty, then no one wants to throw a bottle on it. So I could have listened to that presentation all day long, and I just let it happen because, again, I didn't understand how that related to Public Works and Stop the Violence. And so I learned a lot through that presentation. I hope everyone else did too. We want to go to member organization updates. However, I want to say right up front, please, please, please submit your updates to Chris for the newsletter so that they can go out to people other than the ones who are in this room. Wink, wink. And if you could be brief so that we can continue to try to run as close to on time as possible. We'll just go ahead with member organization updates. Anybody?
All I can say is that our community care stewards are on their winter break right now, but still doing their trainings, and then we'll be starting back in the spring for another season.
Thank you, Becca from Grounded.
We're still working in East Hills for the pickup PGH contract. We'll be continuing to do that through the winter as long as there's not, an enormous amount of snow on the ground. Tires continue to be an issue, of course, as we talked about in the last meeting, but we'll work with you guys to figure out how best to handle that. And yeah,
I wanted to, sorry, you spoke about tires, and I wanted to, how's that task force doing? I know you mentioned that previously, Myrna, but I was wondering if
Yeah, I should have said something. Yeah, the task force is being pulled together. I'm trying to step back from it and allowing a board member to run it. And so I think the first meeting will be in the next couple of weeks. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you. I know last month we gave special focus to the seldom seen dump busters with clean waste, and they're scheduled to be in Seldom Seen again this weekend, I know, with Danny Kramer, as well as several other events that they have scheduled this month.
Thanks.
Yeah. Hey, anything that's even like this close, there's this much of Seldom Seen in D2, and I'm like, Seldom Seen, this much. Okay. Anybody else? Member organization updates. Last call.
Last thing I want to throw out there is the Christmas tree recycling program is still going on. We've got over like 600 trees chipped so far. That's probably the apex, and we're ready to, got only a couple weeks left towards the end of the month, but right now is probably going to be the big time. So we'll be promoting that heavily as well, but we're doing good on it.
For sure, yeah. Environmental services is kicking ass on, and the people of the city of Pittsburgh are recycling those Christmas trees. Of course it could be, expanded, but yeah, at the zoo, currently 610 trees have been chipped, and that will be, of course, available to the public, in March. It's going to sit for a while, let it, get a little ripe, right? To use for your gardens and whatnot. Usually it's used for, paving, but making pathways, and also typically used for like tomatoes and whatnot, things that need acidity. I'm not sure. I'm not the gardener that I used to be, but yeah. So yeah, it's really exciting. And if you haven't recycled your tree, we accept them at the divisions and the Highland Park laydown area. So get those trees out there.
Put it on your blueberries.
Last thing to mention here is the annual report. Alicia has done a great job of pulling everything together. I think there's a couple last asks of everybody's organizations for just specific statistics to throw in there. So she has sent me what she has put together and has the very specific points we need to finalize before putting into our draft and sharing out. So we're going to get that done as quickly as possible. Watch for that in the next couple days.
Okay. All right. Directly after last call for member organization updates comes my perennial request for a motion to adjourn this meeting if no one has any other business of which to speak. It's only 11:32. We're doing great.
This is Kelly. I'll motion to adjourn on this wonderful day.
I'll second. This is Eric.
Thank you, everyone. It was a pleasure to see your faces. You're going to see some emails coming out from Chris and myself about the annual report and some of these other things. Make sure to please submit your information for the newsletter. Anybody else? Big wave? Pet tax? Anybody want to pay tax? Say goodbye to Noodle.
Bye, Noodle.
Bye, Noodle.
Bye. Have a good day.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Thanks.